Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into this episode that I call the Worrier. I came up with the idea of the Worrier for clients who just felt overwhelmed with worry about the future. What I wish I had known decades ago is that the worrier in us is also the warrior that uses fear to protect us and worries in order to keep us safe. I wanted to help people perceive the part of themselves that worries constantly with a little more compassion and wise understanding. When I began to think of my worrier as this part of me that just wanted me to do the responsible thing and worry in order to protect me, I stopped perceiving it in such a negative way. I stopped judging it. Chances are, if you look beneath any worry, you're going to find fear. Fear is the warrior's weapon of choice because fear is what motivates us to fight, outrun, or hide from anything or anyone that makes us feel threatened. The warrior thinks that fearful worry is going to save the day. But the thing is, fear, while a great weapon if we're being threatened physically, is far less effective if what we want to outrun is the overwhelm in our day. And what we want to escape from is the uncertainty in our life. Our worrier believes that if we don't worry about an unpaid bill, then we're going to procrastinate on finding ways to pay it. And if we don't lie awake at night thinking about solutions, then it can't protect us from our creditors or protect us from the fallout that can ensue if we don't do our due diligence and worry about those unusual symptoms, that serious problem. Our worrier may just want to keep us talking about and obsessing over a worrisome situation, so we stay more and more resourceful. The thing is, the law of diminishing returns can eventually kick in and get us to the point where the more we worry, the less resourceful, the less reassured, and less prepared we feel. If anything, we could just feel more restless and frustrated because no matter how much we worry alone can't protect us from a stressful situation. Our worrier is always in problem-solving mode. The trouble is, he or she is often solving problems and dealing with terrible situations that haven't actually happened yet, battling more imagined potential problems than real ones. I realize now that my worrier just wants to come to the rescue and help me slay all those tigers, real or imagined. She wants me to play out those worst case scenarios so I stay prepared, so I can feel safe and be happy. It's pretty illogical, I know, but she means well. The thing is that those good intentions, her strategy, well, they do the opposite of what she intends for me. Worrying about an uncertain future, an uncertain situation, keeps the warrior ready to deal with any sudden threat. To the warrior's way of thinking, just because danger isn't happening right this minute doesn't mean it's not coming. The thing is, the more we worry about what might happen, the more threats that our brain, our body feel like they have to fight off because they experience whatever we imagine is real. To the worrier, well, it can be afraid to allow us to relax because it may not believe that relaxation can prevent that negative outcome, but worry can. It usually doesn't consider things like contentment, relaxation, laughter, creativity as valuable as fear when it comes to managing the setbacks, challenges of our life, because these feelings can't help us to hide faster, run quicker, fight more efficiently. They can't save us. It's like fear telling happiness, listen, don't interfere. My job is more important than your job. Keeping people safe is more important than keeping them happy. I think this is why sometimes it feels as though our worrier has such a tight grip on us, and we can't seem to make room for a little more chill time for those silly things that make us laugh. Our worrier can perceive feelings like joy, peace, relaxation as rewards for when we finally resolve that problem, slain that tiger, achieve that positive outcome. But as we know, our worrier could be waiting a very long time until all the tigers are gone, our world and everyone we love is problem-free. So it's good to keep reminding the worrier that fearful worry is that double-edged sword that can deplete, weaken our body's resources over time. If the worrier goes into battle every day with only fear to defend and protect, then the very thing our primitive brain thinks is going to battle that crisis and win the day could very well cause us to lose the war. Chronic worrying can keep our fight or flight switch stuck in the on position and divert valuable resources and energy from things we also need to survive, like a healthy functioning of our digestive and immune systems. Feelings like contentment, relaxation, gratitude, love, a little positivity, well, these can switch off that fight or flight, and they can contribute to cellular repair. Feelings like calm and creativity can contribute to clear and smart thinking. These feelings all add immeasurably to our health and wellness. They're not rewards, not options for when we feel safe enough to cultivate them every day. They're necessities. We need these feelings to survive and thrive emotionally and physically. And it's this realization that motivated me to learn and teach others, to convince the worrier to share the emotional space inside of us. The worrier in us is only one part of us. There are so many other parts of us that want, need to feel lighter, more carefree, playful, happy, creative. All these parts need to be expressed in order for us to feel a greater sense of balance, of wholeness. The worrier may not believe that the playful and creative parts of us can protect us as well as the part of us that worries and feels fear. But these parts have a voice that also has something life-giving and important to express and protect us in vital ways. And if we don't insist on allowing these voices to be heard, to be acknowledged, then fear can monopolize our attention. It can become like that dictator that denies all those other parts of us their freedom of expression. When I was younger, I didn't think I could feel happy and worried at the same time. It seemed like a contradiction in terms because after all, how could I give myself permission to be in a good mood when I was in the middle of a worrisome situation or trouble was looming in the horizon? How could I feel worried and calm at the same time, or worried and relaxed at the same time? Well, I discovered that I couldn't, but what I could do was to give them turns, because calm is only a few thoughts away, and a better mood is only a few thoughts away. I learned that I could give myself permission to experience carefree moments and allow that playful part of me its freedom of expression, even when there was, something that I was going through that was making me worry. And when I managed to do this, I made the worrier register those moments and send fear a clear message. Don't be selfish. It's safe to share the space inside of me. I now teach clients to open to the emotional potential in us so that even when we're worried, we can still give ourselves permission to find hours, days, moments when we can feel good, feel more than okay. I believe that our emotional potential is so much grander than we allow ourselves to believe, and that regardless of how hard that worrier is tugging at our sleeve, that every moment is a moment that we can feel safe enough to open our hearts and allow all those parts of us that want to express hope and faith and resilience to do so. These feelings are waiting their turn as well. Their potential is always alive inside of us, even when we feel afraid. And if we do this, we may just discover that there is more than enough room inside of us for both worry and calm, fear and courage. Our worrier deserves all our thanks and compassion for its continuous efforts to cope and problem solve. In a crazy way, the worrier makes us worry to protect us from hurt. But it needs more than just fear to take care of us. And expecting the worrier to fight off all our stressors using only fear is an unconscious strategy that isn't sustainable because our bodies weren't meant to run on chronic fear. What I've learned for sure is that if we don't change the subconscious belief that somehow worrying is going to make things turn out okay, then we can end up with one unhappy and exhausted worrier. In today's society, running faster isn't nearly as useful as thinking quickly and calmly on our feet. Learning to use other tools that prepare us far better and make us feel more energized, smarter, feel healthier in case those worst case scenarios do happen is what can make us feel stronger, fitter, more resourceful, and feel less like a pooped out, overwhelmed worrier. So let's see if we can't give our worrier other weapons that it can use to save the day. Consciously, you may not think, gee, let me sit down and worry, although I did. Your body, your mind may just go there unconsciously. And the more you worry, the more you hardwire your brain to go in search of worry as a solution, as a safety-seeking strategy. Fear is what prevents us from putting off what we need to take seriously in order to stay alive. So the work shouldn't be about reprogramming our brain or reprogramming our subconscious mind to get along without it, but rather about re-educating them instead, teaching them that mindfulness can far more effectively and easily accomplish that purpose. Through the power of intention, we can decide to plant a new belief in our subconscious mind that, for all practical purposes, calm protects more than fear. And things like rest, relaxation, and meditation are powerful weapons that can help protect our health and keep us prepared and resourceful. We can grow this new, more empowering belief every day with the right kinds of thoughts. We can keep drumming in that message that 7 to 8 hours of sleep is going to allow us to feel far more alert and prepared, to problem solve than 3 to 5 hours of sleep that's interrupted by worry. We can keep reminding ourselves that good solutions come far more swiftly and clearly to a mind that's relaxed and creative. And we can remind ourselves that solutions that come to us when we're feeling good, feeling relaxed and calm, are far better than those solutions that come to us when we're feeling nervous and overwhelmed. When our worrier is in full-out battle mode, it may refuse to believe that fear depletes and calm protects. The worrier may be reminding you that enjoying yourself, resting, meditating, relaxing in the face of uncertainty is irresponsible. And you have far more important things to do to ensure your survival and get through your day. But you have the power to choose to listen or not, to believe this or not. You can keep telling the worrier that doing all of these things, prioritizing yourself, is what's going to help you stay resourceful, powerful, and prepared so that you can meet all of your challenges. And it's really growing this belief that can make your worrier far wiser and healthier too. Mindfulness is a superpower. It can calm the amygdala, lend us fresh perspective, and turn mindless worrying into mindful worrying. Mindful worry is what reminds us to observe our worrier with patience, compassion, wise resourcefulness. And the quality of this observation may be just the thing to bring the worrier back from the edge. So let's say that worry is making you talk too much about a problem. When the part of you that I call the wise observer makes you aware of this gives you an opportunity to perhaps scale back a little bit and shift your focus to other topics. Learning to observe our worrier is especially important for those of us who experience chronic conditions such as IBS, fibromyalgia, arthritis. Fear isn't good for pain. So learning to keep the worrier in check and our worries in perspective can make all the difference to how much pain and discomfort we experience. When I notice that I'm feeling off and worried about something, I immediately remind my worrier that calm and positivity protect me more than fear. And if I sense that she's reluctant to believe this, I remind her, worry is going to take away from me the very thing I know you want for me, health, and happiness. So reminding our worrier every day that if he or she doesn't take a day off, then worry is going to take that day from us, serves an essential purpose. Not only does it help to rewire our brain for less worry, but it also prevents us from becoming completely immersed in our worries. When we observe our worrier fretting, feeling fearful, what are we going to teach it to do with that fear? Are we going to tell the worrier to stop worrying, to resist thinking those thoughts that are making you worry? Well, doing this may just make things worse and do nothing to keep you from drowning in those fearful thoughts and sensations. Mindful worrying is what allows us to observe that dialogue in our head that keeps feeding that worry, and it gives us options. We can change that dialogue to something that feels better, that allows us to relax a little bit, or we can do nothing. We can simply observe mindfully those thoughts, allow them to come and go without arguing or engaging with them. And when we do this, we're learning to detach from the worrier and stay more in control. What I've learned is that no amount of overdoing, overindulging is going to rescue me from my worry. Nothing and no one can do that but me. My worrier can't save the world. She can only save me. But as I keep reminding her, not with fearful worry. The fear that lies beneath most of our worries is a natural thing. But mindful worrying is about remembering that we have to teach the worrier to release that fear instead of adding more fear to those fearful thoughts. Something that you can practice doing is observing the fear beneath your worry and see if its intensity is compatible with what the worrier is trying to solve. If it feels exaggerated, you can encourage the worrier to let go of some of that surplus fear and worrying and use other weapons to protect you. Listening to a relaxing guided meditation or using our very breath. Abdominal or mindful breathing can help keep our mind clear and stay resourceful. You can set the intention to, release that fearful worry, that energy out through your nose or your mouth as you gently breathe out, and allow that release to relax your cheeks, your jaw, your tongue. When worry takes you to that uncertain future, and that uncertain future takes you back to that feeling of worry, what you can do is find a quiet place and connect with the worrier. Observe the part of you that's worried and wrap it in love and wise acceptance. When you make it a habit to do this, the worrier feels less alone, less judged, and it can help you to feel more at peace with the worrier, with yourself. So you can close your eyes, take some mindful breaths, and invite this part of you into your consciousness. Start a conversation. The worrier has a good intention. When you ask it some curious questions, you may just be surprised by the answers. For example, you can ask, What is it that you want to get from me by making me worry about this? What is it that you want from me? By worrying, what is it that you want to protect me from? When we connect with our worrier, we're connecting with our fears. And we can take that opportunity to remind our fear that it also shares a home in our body with contentment, faith, wisdom, serenity, and that these emotional states also have a right to inhabit the vastness in us. When we teach the worrier that filling our day with a little relaxation, a little laughter, a little happiness can protect and keep us safe, we empower the warrior and help the worrier find more energy and resourcefulness in the present moment. So I would encourage you to keep connecting with the worrier and ask it, what feeling do you need to keep you company? Allow it to choose one. I know that gratitude and appreciation make wonderful companions for my worrier. A stronger warrior is a mindful warrior. Mindfulness can save our precious present moment from disappearing into fear. When you notice your thoughts worrying you, train your brain to go back to the safer present moment and use something like appreciation to anchor you in that moment. If you're crossing a room, feel grateful for your legs that make it possible. Work with your worrier. Ask this part of you to postpone worry and make whatever time you set aside a worry-free zone. So for example, weekends or any time after 7 p.m. can be worry-free time. Your worrier may not want to do that, but practice tough love and don't take no for an answer. Or if it agrees, it'll probably forget. So keep reminding it, now is worry-free time. Mindful worrying is about offering our brain, our mind, our body better alternatives. So for example, instead of mindlessly distracting our worry, we can choose a mindful distraction, one that carries purpose and intention and can help us to shift our focus. A mindful distraction can be anything that we mindfully choose to invest our energy. Ideally, an activity that's going to relax our mind and our body. I know that what works for me is humming. When I'm worrying about something, I use humming to sort of snap me out of my fearful reverie. And I'll hum a silly tune, a happy tune. My favorite one is the one from Sound of Music. My favorite things. If you're worried, remember that your imagination is a powerful weapon that you can give the worrier. Learn to make it work for you, not against you. I have a client who visualizes a worry switch, and when he's worried, he just turns it off. What can work even better is imagining a dimmer switch that's connected to your fear. So you can practice, imagine, turning it up just a little bit and then bringing it all the way down until that worry, that fear is barely there. This can work because, remember, whatever you vividly imagine can become real to your mind, to your body. Something else that you can do is to imagine a dial with the numbers 1 to 10 on it, 10 being the highest intensity. So notice how worried you are. Let's say you're at an 8. Experiment in your imagination, turning up that dial just a little bit, and notice what that does to that fear. And then what you can do is dial it down to whatever number you choose, maybe a 3 or a 4. What can happen is that some of that fearful energy can fade to reflect the number you chose. If you're like many of my clients, doing this little exercise can give you a greater sense of control over your worries and fears. My worrier loves to watch the catastrophe channel in my head. Now, I gave up the idea of unsubscribing because, well, she wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But we did come to an agreement. She has to allow me to watch other uplifting programming that can help me think in ways that can ease my worries. If you notice that your attention is being monopolized by thoughts, images, scenarios that just seem to be fueling your worry, then maybe it's a sign that the worrier is refusing to watch anything but the catastrophe or the worry channel. So what you can do is to imagine a remote control gadget, and you can have fun designing one in your head and then use it to change the channel. You're the director of programming and you're the creator of these channels, and you can give them names. Mine have names like, for example, the It's Safe to Feel Good and Relaxed channel, or the Empowerment channel. What I've done with the Empowerment channel is that I will memorize snippets from interviews and podcasts with people like Dawson Church, Joe Dispenza, Oprah Winfrey, and then I'll replay them in my head when I watch or listen to this channel. And their insightful words of wisdom really help me to feel more empowered and resourceful and ready to deal with whatever I'm worried about. I'll tune into the It's Safe to Feel Good and Relaxed channel when I want to give myself permission to relax despite my worries. If you'd like to create a channel like this one, what you can do is pick some nice, relaxing music. I know that I love to go to Awakening Planet or Master of Abundance on YouTube. They have some wonderful, soothing, relaxing music. So what you can do is lie or sit down and then think about some phrases that you know can bring a zing of calm resonance to the worrier. For example, my favorite phrases that work well for me are, for example, I'm concerned, but it's safe to relax. Calm is protecting me more than fear. Calm is steady and strong. Calm is bringing me solutions. So what I'll do is I will just listen to the music and keep repeating these phrases in my head, aloud or silently, as I relax my body. Before I start, I'll ask my muscles to relax, starting at the top of my head and down to my toes. And I'll just, like I said, keep replaying these phrases in my head. And it just gets you into that meditative state. And if you notice that your attention wanders or starts thinking about, your worries, or you start feeling that fear, you bring it back. You shift your focus back to those more empowering, calming, relaxing phrases. And you'd be surprised how doing something like this, tuning into this channel, really can make you feel like it's okay to relax, to feel a little better despite your worries. When I notice that I've spent the day obsessing over some worry, when I go to bed, I make myself take that remote control and select the channel of future possibility. When I watch this channel, I imagine that the next day, somehow, whatever it is I'm worried about has magically resolved itself. Now, my worrier doesn't like me to watch this channel because she wants to protect me and keep me safe from disappointment. She believes that, if I imagine this happy ending, I'm going to jinx my future. I'm going to jinx that outcome and things are going to turn out terribly. She believes that celebrating the future isn't as safe as feeling worried about it. So I have to remind my worrier that I'm going to watch it anyway, that I am braver than she realizes, brave enough to imagine that things are going to turn out fine, even if they don't. If creating a channel like this is something that appeals to you, ask yourself, well, if you knew beyond a shadow of doubt that whatever it is you're worried about you were going to wake up the next day and somehow it would all be magically resolved, well, what would you be doing? How would you be celebrating? Who would you be celebrating with? Would you be hugging that person? Really feel that happy relief and, bring to life those happy images. Being courageous enough despite our worries is what allows that part of us that wants to believe in a happy ending to express itself fully, even if it means risking disappointment. What I've learned is that the worrier's efforts to protect us from those happy endings in case they don't show up just denies the parts of us that want to feel that faith and hope their full expression. Have fun experimenting, creating these channels. Fill them with reassuring thoughts, images, scenarios, and listen to those positive messages. And make sure that the worrier binge watches regularly. I can't speak about worry and not talk about EFT, emotional freedom technique. This is a stress reduction technique that's been shown to lower cortisol levels. There's plenty of evidence-based research that shows that it works, but I don't need to read it because my clients are living proof of this. EFT has become a bread and butter technique that I teach the majority of my clients to help them process the fear that lies beneath that worry. EFT is often referred to as tapping because it involves tapping on different acupuncture points on the body. And it's also sometimes called emotional acupuncture because the idea is that as you tap, you're voicing aloud, you're honoring, acknowledging all your thoughts and feelings, no matter how dark or fearful they are, in order to process them and let them go. It's not about talking yourself out of your negative beliefs or your negative emotions and feelings. It's about accepting them so that you can then choose to release them, move that energy out of your body. Unfortunately, teaching you about EFT in depth is beyond the time and scope of this episode. But there are some great websites out there like EFTuniverse.com or the tappingsolution.com. These are great resources that can teach you more about tapping. Or if you'd like, send me an email and I'll be happy to give you a free session and get you started. The warrior in us can believe that worrying has the power to prevent something bad from happening to someone we love. I know that mine did for a long time. Secondhand worry is what I call the worry we feel on behalf of anyone that we care about. And often this type of worrying can weigh us down even more than our own troubles and concerns. So many of my clients come to me worried about their spouses, their children, their pets. And even though they don't like how this worry makes them feel, at some level, they feel disloyal, uncaring, and even irresponsible if they don't worry. Love and our instinctual need to protect, especially our children, can make our worrier turn to fear-based behaviors like calling too much, nagging too much, behaviors that can drive our kids crazy whether they're 15 or 65. I know that when my daughter was a teenager, she would have preferred a little less love from me if that meant that I laid off the unsolicited advice and the overly protective attitude. Even though we know that worry can't rescue our loved ones from the clutches of failure or misfortune, or that it can't prevent them from experiencing pain, hurt, regret, that doesn't mean that our warrior is going to quit worrying. If anything, love just makes us worry even harder. Because worrying is how we show our love. Or that's what I used to think. But is it really love? What I've come to realize is that when we worry, well, that's how we show our fear. But fear is not love. When people are going through a crisis, they don't need our worry. They don't need our fear. They have plenty of that. What they do need is our love, the emotion that carries the highest frequency. And in terms of energetic frequency, fearful worry is on the opposite end of the spectrum. So when I worry, when I find myself worrying too much about my daughter, I remind myself that what she's getting from me isn't love, it's fear, the last thing she needs. But how do we love someone and not worry about them? How do we not want to carry their burdens? Our primitive brain is always going to want us to worry about the people, the pets, the things we love. This is a natural response and it serves a valuable purpose. But mindfulness is what can help us to stay aware and notice when we're worrying a little too much about our loved ones. And it can remind us that they can benefit far more from our love than that fearful worry. So the next time you find yourself worrying a little too much about someone that you care about, what you can do is just find a comfortable place in your home and just close your eyes. And through the power of intention, decide to let go of some of that excess fear through your breath by just breathing it out through your nose, through your mouth. And then what you can do is decide to send them some love. And you can do this by imagining the face of the person you love or your pet, and think of a color that to you represents a happy, protective, loving color. And then just imagine wrapping them in this color and have fun with that. Or you can just imagine hugging them and making that hug real and strong and supportive, and just thinking that somehow, some way, things turned out okay for them. And then you can send them some love through the power of intention through your breath. I've talked about the I love you breath in a previous episode last year, and it's basically this. As you slowly take a nice in breath, you're going to either think or silently mouth the word I. And then you're going to pause on the word love. You're either going to think or silently mouth love. And then as you slowly breathe out, you're going to be thinking or mouthing silently the word you. So it's I love you. And make that you nice and long, and really feel that love. And you may just notice that after a minute or two, or however long you like, you may be feeling so much better. Feeling more productive, good about sending them that love. Our worrier can want to minimize the weight of those problems and challenges by taking some of that worry off their shoulders and onto our own. But it's important to keep reminding ourselves that no matter how much worry we take on behalf of someone else, well, our worrying isn't going to make them worry less, and it isn't going to lighten their burden. If anything, when loved ones know that their worries are contributing to our own burdens, they can feel the weight of those worries even more. And when we know that we're overburdening loved ones with our worries, well, the weight of those concerns can seem even heavier. Worrying saps our vital energy. So this is wasted energy that nobody gets. We don't get it. The people we're worried about don't get it. But how do we care about and support someone that we know is worried from a place that doesn't deplete us, doesn't drain us, or tempt us to lie awake all night on their behalf? And how can we be there for someone who's worried and has us on the phone for hours? How do we protect our emotional space from their fear? These are all tricky questions. Mindful worrying allows us to explore them, and our well-being depends on finding answers that work for us and protect our worrier from exhaustion. Worry has an energy. When someone is worried, we can sense it, we can feel it. Mindfulness can help us to stay aware that we can sympathize with the troubles of others, but be mindful not to take on that fearful energy. Often we can feel disloyal if someone that we love is worried about something and we don't worry right along with them, either out of solidarity or because we think that if we worry expertly enough, that our worrying is going to trigger a positive outcome. But mindful worrying is what keeps playing that message in our head that no matter how much we worry, well, worrying ourselves to a solution, either for ourselves or someone else, isn't an effective strategy, because a perspective that's less encumbered by fearful worry is often going to be able to see clear across to the other side and better able to find the clarity, the wisdom that come from a calm and creative mind, not one that's wigged out by fear. I've come to believe that the best way to worry about anyone or anything is from a distance that breeds not indifference, but wisdom. And what I mean by this is learning to put wise perspective between you and whatever it is, whoever it is that you're worried about, so that the caring and empathy don't exhaust you. I teach clients about mindful detachment. Now, practicing mindful detachment is about cultivating a mindset that makes it easier for us to care about others in a wiser, more resourceful way, and a less fearful one that just ends up depleting us emotionally and physically. Now, mindfully detaching, it isn't about being indifferent or caring less. It's about caring from a higher, more balanced place. Because often, in order to help others, we have to step back so that we can see the bigger picture that they're too worried to see. Mindfully detaching is what keeps reminding us that our path is our path and their path is their path. Sometimes when I'm feeling stressed out, a little worried, I'll sit down, I'll relax my mouth, my jaw, and I'll smile. I love to surprise my brain, and I know it's wondering, what the heck is she smiling about? And the whole idea of smiling, even though I'm feeling a little fearful, is so ludicrous that sometimes I laugh. And that laugh and that smile just seem to loosen that knot inside my stomach, and I find myself relaxing. And it often feels so good to just smile. I notice how nice that feels on the inside. So nice, in fact, that, I just can't stop smiling. And there's a reason for that. Our brain releases endorphins, dopamine, serotonin when we smile. So it may seem counterintuitive, but the more worried and stressed and overwhelmed you are, the more you need to smile. Now, we're programmed into believing that we need a reason to smile, but we really don't. I've come up with this little exercise that I teach clients when they're feeling overwhelmed, worried, but you don't need to do it for those reasons. You can just do it for the sheer pleasure and novelty of it. So if you'd like, you can take a nice slow out breath and close your eyes. And just allow your mouth to relax into a smile that reaches your eyes and just seems to soften them. And then just notice how it shapes your lips. Is it a grin? Is it a wide smile that parts your lips? And just smile, feel that it's just you and your smiling. You don't need to think of anything that's going to make you smile. You may not have a reason to smile. It may not make sense, but just observe yourself smiling with curiosity. And if you wish, you can smile at your heart and notice how that makes your heart feel. You can smile at your organs, smile at your liver, smile at your pancreas, smile at your stomach. Or you can allow your smile to greet all your feelings and thoughts. You can smile reassuringly at your worries, smile compassionately at your fears. You can smile in wise understanding at your anger. You can smile tenderly at your sadness, smile patiently at your frustration, smile lovingly at yourself so that you feel more loved. And you can do this until the power of that simple yet genuinely loving and kind smile just seem to melt away the intensity of those feelings and thoughts. Or if you don't have time to do this, just go to the mirror, give yourself a great big supportive smile, and throw in a playful wink for good measure. Sometimes I'll think, how can the warrior in us become a true superhero if we don't learn to save ourselves from the threat of our worries using skills, knowledge, and faith that are not grounded in fear? Our warrior is constantly being challenged by our inner doubts and fears that repeatedly question our ability to rescue ourselves from whatever concerns are in front of us. Our worries can seem so much more real, stronger than our own sense of calm and resourcefulness. But I believe that there is a part of us that is eager to weaken and eventually conquer our fears. And we don't have to search that far to find this part of us that we want to believe is there if we stay connected to that divine awareness that is so much grander and greater than us. When we learn to wrap the scared and worried part of us in this higher sense of self, then calm and courage can find their voice. One of the ways that we can make the warrior less of a worrier is to make the warrior powerful using faith, not fear. And we can practice this by surrendering our uncertainty and all that excess fear to the divine presence in us. Nothing is stronger than love and compassionate self-awareness. So give your warrior a little love and keep telling it every day how amazingly powerful he or she is, even if the warrior doesn't quite believe you. Cultivating a kind, unconditional love of self can help the warrior manage those worrisome situations, imperfectly perhaps, but still with a little more grace, fortitude, forgiveness, wisdom, and beautiful vulnerability. I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode and gained perhaps a little wise understanding of your own warrior. If you have any questions or comments, please send me an email. I'd love to hear from you.